But when it really came down to it, when my career was on the line, when the city was counting on me, my team, everything, I would say to myself, confident swing, because I would much rather have a confident swing with below average technique than a super technical swing without a lot of conviction behind it.
Yes.
Especially in pressure moments. So, focus on the swing, like obviously work on the technique and everything, but understand in the moment, your body's going to feel tight sometimes, especially in these pressure moments, and like do the thing that you can do repeatably and feel confident doing. So I just want to like do a confident swing. I didn't really care what it looked like because I knew, and I just kind of have to trust my body that it would give me a halfway decent technical swing.
Yes. Well, welcome back everyone to another episode of Masters of the Game. And today I get to introduce you to the one and only Stephen Hauschka. Stephen, welcome to the show. Thanks for taking your time today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Matt. Pleasure.
This is awesome. And, it's really cool. Like I talk about the power of, just connection, who you know, and just asking and all these different things. And we were connected by another Stephen, and which led us to today. And now I get to climb in your head a little bit. For those of you, right before we got on, I asked the question because Stephen is a Super Bowl champion with the Seattle Seahawks. I almost ended this whole interview because he was on the team that beat the Denver Broncos, my close Denver Broncos, but he was a Denver Bronco as well for a bit. So we're back in good graces, I guess. But no,
I think I scored more points than the whole Broncos team that day.
True.
43 to 8. I think I had more than 8 points, but
that was a struggle.
Anyway, it was such a bizarre game. The Broncos were heavily favored. This was Peyton Manning at his prime. The offense was on fire, and I think they were like 7-point favorites, 8-point favorites. Yep. And the first play of the game, I got to kick off, and it was a return out to like the 10, 12-yard line, got smashed. Our special teams was on fire that year. And then the second play of the game was a snap over Peyton's head.
That's right.
And a safety.
Yes.
And so, it was telling, and it was, I don't know why this is coming to mind, but at halftime, we were up like some huge number at halftime. And halftime is this really long thing for the Super Bowl. Bruno Mars was playing. There's a bunch of other performances. And I went into the shower and like I was super stressed out. Just it's Super Bowl Sunday, like the biggest game of my life. And it's the anticipation for this game is 2 weeks. It's all you can think about for 2 weeks straight. And like, even when you're trying not to think about it, commercials come up. You're watching TV, you're watching like golf, and commercials come up, and it's like Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl. And you're like, oh, that's right. I'm playing in the Super Bowl tomorrow or the next day. And so you're like worn out just even getting to the game. The game's at 6 p.m.
Yes.
So halftime is like at 8 or 9 p.m. And I fell asleep in the locker room, like in the shower, just passed out. So I've never done that before, probably from all the stress, all the anticipation. And somebody like tapped me on the shoulder and it's like, we got to go out. And I was like late to get out onto the field at halftime, got like one warm up kick. And then but then we returned the second half kickoff for a touchdown.
Yeah.
But I remember we could have been up 100 points. It wouldn't have mattered. Playing against Peyton Manning and the Broncos that year, until that game was over, we were not going to celebrate.
I bet. Yeah, and I remember that as a fan, it was not the most pleasant experience.
I know. I'm sorry. I was a Bronco, okay. So my heart goes out to Bronco Nation. And you guys got to win, 2 years later?
Yes. Yeah, we
so
got our Peyton Manning
championship.
Peyton Manning Super Bowl, so we were happy for sure.
And I've lost the Super Bowl too. I know what that feels like. It's not fun.
That's pretty wild, though. Well, yeah, it's like all the pomp and circumstance around the Super Bowl. The media's increased, like everything that adds to that stress.
I was journaling about it the other day because I've been working on this speech. I think I told you before I did a speech for TED Sports, and it went amazing. It's all about thriving under pressure, and what I learned from kicking footballs in the NFL, where the stakes are so high, and fear is like the most natural thing that comes up in high pressure environments. And for a long time, I fought that, and then eventually I was like, oh, this is just the way my brain works. Everybody's brain works this way. And this is we have this amygdala. This is this is the body that we inhabit, the hardware that we inhabit. And so I kind of just accepted that that's the way we were built. And I started to work with the fear to turn that energy into the courage that I needed to feel to go perform in these pressure situations. But anyway, I'm refining the speech. I'm having a blast with it. And the thing that I was journaling about the other day is all these reporters, like for a kicker, you get an interview once every third week or fourth week or something. And it's usually they want to know what your favorite color is, what your favorite song is, for some media thing. And then for the Super Bowl week, it's like 4 days straight of an hour-long interview with like 50 different people.
Yes.
From all over the world, asking you all types of questions. So it was just completely overwhelming. I mean, there's media day even. And I remember getting asked like, what these questions, like at the time, it struck a nerve in me, because they were asking like, Scott Norwood like missed the kicks in the Super Bowl for the Buffalo Bills, and they would want to know about that. And like, how does it feel heading into the Super Bowl, knowing that that's like could be a possibility? And I was like, well, I didn't think about it. Thank you.
Exactly.
Thanks for bringing that up.
Good place.
I was in a good place. Like, why didn't you ask me about Adam Vinatieri and what a thrill it would feel like to win the Super Bowl? And so before both the Super Bowls I played in, it was this mental battle between like, I spent so much energy and determination just to convince myself I was going to show up and make the kick. And like, you don't know if it's actually going to come up, but I visualized it 100 times, making that kick. But what reflecting back on it 10 years later, I realized my greatest fear wasn't missing the kick or letting the city down or losing the game, embarrassing myself, or having to get another, losing my job. That all that stuff was bad enough. It was like, I didn't know if I'd be able to, if the failure was so bad, I didn't know for sure that I'd be okay and be able to live with myself the rest of my life if I screwed up that royally on the grandest stage. So that was my biggest fear. You think about Ace Ventura, the scene where Finkel is up in it. I guess he's in his mom's. In his mom's house, the window's boarded up in the top attic, and he's just saying like, "Laces out, Dan. Laces out, Dan." And that was the biggest fear. And and some of the insights were that over the years is that there's extreme freedom in knowing that you're going to be okay regardless of the result. And that freedom, in that freedom, you can find the courage you need to actually go for it. Anyway, I thought I would share that. That was, I didn't know we were going to go in this direction, but it's fun to just unpack these high pressure moments and what it shows you about your inner psychology and what others can learn about what it truly takes to go for it in the biggest moments.
Well, and this is an important thing, right? The thing I love about these interviews, honestly, Stephen, is like, I purposely do this. They will go where they need to go. Yeah. And so I love how we're at this point now, right? And really quickly, right? You're obviously a keynote speaker, high performance expert. You're a 13-year NFL veteran. Super Bowl champion, all pro, 96% playoff field goal percentage, set league records for consecutive 50-yard field goals. I mean, you've done all these amazing things, right? You started at Middlebury College. I know you played soccer, then you transitioned to football, then you went to NC State, and then you've been with multiple teams, right? Including the Seahawks, Broncos, Ravens, a couple others as well. So you've had this like really like amazing kind of path, right, and journey and tenure in the NFL. But I think what you talk about, right, is like, how do you deal with the pressure along the way? Because that's what I like to ask, right? How do you deal with the pressure? Because if you're a high school athlete, collegiate athlete, pro athlete, there's that concept of pressure, right? And pressure coming from parents, from media, from social, like Instagram, from whoever, coaches, like teachers, like whatever it might be. There's that's always in conversation of how do you deal with the pressure? And so I think I want to stay on this a little bit, right? Because you had that evolution, that growth, that development, and kind of letting go to be able to perform and things like that, I think is a key thing. I'm curious, like, as you looked at your like NFL career and even collegiate into NFL career, I mean, you've kicked who knows how many balls, thousands upon thousands, like
tens of thousands of swings, right? Probably.
And you look at that of like early on in your career, like how did you deal with, like, I guess, where did that pressure, if I knew my air quotes, pressure come from? Like, where did you feel it? And then how did you kind of deal with it? And then ultimately get to that place of like, I'm going to let go because I'm like, I know who I am type thing. But what was that like early on for you?
Yeah. Okay. So I'd say my core belief is that high performance is ultimately like an emotional battle between fear and love. And the reason I say that is because early on in my career, there were some sports psychologists, there were some resources that I was introduced to, and it was all very like mental. And the thing about high pressure environments, like some people like to say, you know, pressure is made up. It's all about like what you're saying about what's in front of you. You know, it's all in your head. You go be an NFL kicker. Go stand on the sideline before, you know, on the road in a 3-point game with a minute left, and you're about to jog on the field and go kick the ball with 70,000 screaming fans, that you can literally feel the tension in the air. Can literally feel it. There's anticipation. There's, you know, like everybody's sweat and adrenaline's like in the stadium. People are yelling, screaming. The energy is contagious.
Yes.
That's pressure. It's not going anywhere. Pressure is real. Like everyone wants to perform. Pressure is real. Like we're all trying to do the best we can on this planet, whether you're a high school athlete, a college athlete, a coach, everyone's trying to do their best. There's pressure to perform. Like we lose jobs if we don't perform. We don't get into college if we don't perform. We don't, you know, there's so many different levels to it. So anyway, the pressures levels can change. Obviously the pressure level of being a kicker was extreme, but I don't vibe with the idea that pressure's made up. I think it's real, and I don't think it's going anywhere. And in high pressure environments, fear is the most natural response.
Yes.
Because we have this ancient hardware that was designed for a much different world to keep us alive.
Yes. And
now we're playing, for the most part, playing games, you know, especially what we're talking about with sports. Life is a lot different now. And so, but the amygdala and these other structures in the brain, they haven't changed, and they still react to something that we perceive as a threat, and it can hijack us pretty quickly. So thinking more when your alarm bell goes off in your mind, when you see a threat, like, oh gosh, I've got to kick, you know, there's 70,000 people watching. I got to make this, or else A, B, C, D, all of a sudden you could be thinking about the worst case scenario. You're not going to get out of that through your mind. The way there's an emotional place that you have to connect with that's like, I believe in myself. I can do this. I love myself. I trust myself. It's a deep feeling of, I call it courage. And there's a few different areas of it that triangulate to what I call as courage, but it's a deep belief in self. And courage, my definition of courage is having fear, but taking action anyway.
Yes.
And so, like, bold action. So, I basically accepted early on, like, okay, the pressure's there. The fear is going to keep coming up. I gotta learn how to work with this to be at my best. And that ultimately turned into, finding courage and cultivating courage. And I would pivot from like the fear and turn it into courage.
What are your thoughts around this? Because we talk about, I think sometimes we're taught to ignore, right? To your point, right? Ignore that, right? Bury it.
Yeah.
Like, it's not there. And what I'm hearing is that it's like, look at it and be like, yeah, I see you. I feel you. I know you're here, but I'm choosing to do something different. And I think that acknowledgement, it's interesting you say that, because I think I was taught as an athlete, right? Again, different sport, a game of baseball, but it's like I was taught, like, bury it, show no fear, show no weakness. And now I talk to athletes. I'm like, it's there. It's normal. You're a human.
It's totally
normal. It's going to be there. So why not just say, hey, and then be like, hey, we're just choosing a different path right now. So if you can hold on a minute, like, I'll see you later on. But I gotta go.
If you don't think every athlete has negative, critical, fearful thoughts, you're crazy. Every single person has it. Every single person in business has it. That's why I have no problem talking about it, because the awareness of being in that situation and just spending 15 years having to navigate this, like, it was so obvious I had to do it. And so that's why I'm cool talking about it. It's just like how we're built. And so we got to learn to work with it. If you don't acknowledge that it's there, and it's not always there, but if you don't acknowledge that it's there, it has power over you. Because what happens is the mind, the amygdala hijack is a real thing coined by psychologist Daniel Goleman. This thing, there's a physiological response. It's beyond consciousness. It's an unconscious response, and it happens in milliseconds. There's this, the way the wiring of the nervous system happens here is pretty interesting, because basically your eyes, we're visual creatures. Most of our brain is devoted to vision. And so when we see something, perceive something as a threat, the amygdala just sends the impulse instantly, and it jacks up our heart rate. We start sweating. We get all these physiological responses, and then our brain goes into hyperdrive. Like, what if this? What if that? What if this? What if that? And the first step to gaining control back is to recognize it. And so, like, I've developed this process, basically codified what I did over the 15 years, because I had this process and I was like, gosh, what I was doing there was special. I know nobody else is doing that. I got to share it. So it's called the RISE process. The first step is R, recognize. And it means to name the fear, call it out. Like, what is the fear that I'm feeling right now? And just naming it, I don't want to embarrass myself. I don't want to, and a lot of this, I would do this work the night before the game or the morning of the game. I wouldn't do it, I wouldn't be thinking about it a minute before I go out the field for the kick, but it was just to get myself in the right state. I would name the fear. Like, one time I was playing against, these fears can be, rather silly too. Like, one time I was playing against Adam Vinatieri, my childhood idol kicker.
Yes.
Incredible kicker. I grew up in New England, incredible kicker. He's probably why I got into kicking. And I played my first NFL game against him like 10 years into my career. Something like that. And
amazing.
I was like anxious about playing against him. And I was like, oh, that's silly. I don't need that baggage. The fear there, likely, didn't want to embarrass myself in front of him, or I wanted to show him I'm a great kicker. I don't know.
Yes.
So just calling it out then gives you agency back. And then the other steps we could chat about, but basically it's about converting that energy into courage and showing up at your best.
Yes. And I think you bring up a good point too, because I guess athletes and coaches too, right? And business people, whoever's listening to this right now, right? It's like wherever you're at, it could be related to your marriage or something different, but or school, like whatever it is, but it's understanding that sometimes it could seem like the silliest thing, but even just saying it, right? Of, I'm worried about this test I have to take. And it's like, what's the fear? It's like, I'm going to fail this test. And then all of a sudden I now can't get into a college and I'm living in a cardboard box or in the van down by the river type thing. Right. And it's a horrible situation. Instead of saying, I'm nervous about this test and failing this test, and then getting back to that control of like, okay, well, what can I control about this right now? And the studying, whatever.
It's not just that. When the fear, when it's not recognized, when it's unconscious, it carries weight, and it's like this nebulous force that you don't fully understand. And it causes you to play it safe. It causes you to play it tight. When you actually consciously look at the fear, which you have to name it first, when you consciously look at it, like, then we have brain regions like the ventromedial prefrontal cortex, anterior cingulate cortex. We have these brain regions that are responsible for detecting, the feeling basically of wanting to do something, but feeling scared. And it's actually a feeling that we need to lean into. So when we consciously look at these fears, take inventory, we can decide, hey, is this a fear I want to listen to, or is this something I want to step forward into?
Yes.
So do I want to step back, or do I want to step forward? And usually when you analyze it, you're going to step forward more often. Sometimes, I'm average at surfing. There were huge waves one day. I was going to paddle out, and I was like, you know what? These waves are ginormous. I don't want to get hurt. I'm not that great a surfer. That was very logical.
Yes.
But 90% of the time, and this is for everybody's, if you really want to live a life that's in alignment with like your potential and what you're capable of, you need to be analyzing your fears and stepping forward with courage more often. Because if you don't, you're going to be playing it safe, because that's when it's unconscious, you tend to play it safe.
Yes.
You won't step into the thing, or if you do, you're going to step into it tight and not give yourself the best chance. So you got to step in courageously to the challenge, and that gives you the best chance. It still doesn't guarantee success.
Right.
There's a moment of surrender where you have to release that I don't have full control over what's going to happen. I can bring my best. I can be in the best state I can be in, but still that's like not up to me. I'm just going to go for it. And it's a moment of surrender.
Yes. I love that perspective. And I think that, like you talk about right now, you got me thinking about to my playing days, right? Of, I go up in the game of baseball, the bases are loaded, and you got this perceived really important situation, right? Game on the line type thing. And still I can choose to step up to the plate because I have to, because it's my time to hit. So ready or not, I'm stepping up to the plate. But it's how do I step up to the plate? So are my muscles tight and tense? or am I loose and in the proper state? To your point, like I've fully stepped in like courageously to that.
Yeah.
And there's a big difference. Do you mind? Because I know everybody's like watching this now is like, okay, but what about what's next, right? How do you
the other steps?
Like, do you mind if we go through kind of the
sure
methodology a little bit, break it down?
Yeah, sure. So once again, you recognize the fear, and there's neuroscience and psychology to back this up. Like the brain regions, when you just calling it out, naming it, gives you agency back. It's the acceptance and commitment theory in psychology backs that up. Just naming an emotion gives
this is where I think
gives you power back.
To push on that a little bit, this is why I try to tell people, I'm like, understand how powerful you are. And like when you understand the brain and the body and the way they work and like the ins and outs, sometimes these concepts I think are like, woo, let it go, give it to the universe, give it to God, like, or whatever. It's like, no, like, yes, you could do that, like, give it to the universe or God, whatever, but like, and understand how powerful you are. So like,
yes,
once you understand that, it's like real, like you'll feel it, you'll sense it. Anyway, I go off, push on that a little bit.
Okay. So recognize. So you recognize the fear, you name it, call it out, however ridiculous it seems. Cause also like generally when a fear comes up, say you look at the sales leaderboard or, and you're triggered by something, or you say you look at your credit card bill that's late or something like that. Next thing you know, you're like scrolling Instagram, reaching for a beer, playing video games, something to medicate, right? What if you just took 10 seconds and said, okay, whoa, that's weird. Did you feel that? Like my body just kind of went into fight or flight. I wonder just be curious. Like, what was that fear what's the fear? What am I afraid of here? And usually there's a lot of truth behind it, and it's not like it's your fear. It's just like, oh, that's interesting.
Yes.
My body reacted to this thing and it's in fear about like, this other person that's a top salesperson and performing better than me currently. What does that say about myself? So, the fear there is probably there's surface level fears like, oh, they're going to do better than me, or, but the deeper fear might be, I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to be on the streets homeless. I'm going to lose my family. But like, is that true? Is that how you want it? Is that productive? Is that helping you? If it's helping you, that's one thing. But for most of us, is it helping us to think that way? I don't think so.
No, I agree. It's interesting because Rod Smith spoke at one of our events like, oh gosh, I don't know, 5-6 years ago at this point, Stephen. And it was interesting. He said he's had a fear of film review.
Yeah.
His entire career. And I was like, what? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, he's the leading receiver in Broncos history. I mean, legend in Broncos country, right? But fearful every Monday of film review. And to your point, it became this incredible motivator for him, where he wanted his routes to be like spot on, like everything, the way he blocked, like everything to be spot on, which is what made him like kind of a legend out here, right? But it's interesting though, right? It all started with that fear, and then he chose to look at it and do something different.
I think everybody's got a choice of how they want to use it. If you're really fear driven, I think it's, caused a lot of suffering.
Yes.
Early in my career, I was definitely fear driven and worked obsessively. And, I kept the work ethic, but I learned like to see when I didn't need it or when it wasn't serving me.
Yes.
And, there's also seasonality to it. Like sometimes a little fear that you're not good enough early in the off season, early in a week of preparation gets you in gear and makes you work really hard. But then maybe heading right into a game, you probably want to believe in yourself.
Yes.
You want to think that you have everything you need to go perform.
Yes.
So it's all about how you use it. But this rise method is really to shift from a state of fear into a state of courage. And you can do it in real time. You could do it like in, the night before an event. If like eventually after a bunch of years, I knew what the fears were kicking. So I just had to, I was fearful about slipping on the grass. I was fearful about like the wind blowing the ball out of the uprights or the kick getting blocked.
Yes.
Or just pulling out of the kick, hitting a bad ball.
Yes.
And those, I wouldn't spend a whole lot of time on like, being out of the league, can't find it. It was more just like, the immediate surface level
yes.
thing that triggers.
Yes.
So naming that, you can question like, is that truth? Is that something that's serving me?
Yes.
And then, so the next step is I for invite compassion. And this essentially is like, the first step is accepting yourself for having it. Like, I accept myself for being human, for having this thing that, for living in this nervous system and this body that, responds to things that it's concerned about. You almost remove yourself from it.
Yes.
Then, if you're willing to take the next step of loving yourself for having that and for being who you are and for being human, that's another important step of it. Like self-compassion is a huge part of this. It helps you release it. And then the third step is to recognize you don't need it. And then you can begin to release it. So it's like, oh, that fear is not serving me. Like basically I accept that I had it and who I am for having it. I love myself for being who I am. And like, it's another step of that. And then I don't need it anymore. And then you're at level playing field. So the first two steps kind of take you from recognizing it, and then you're clean slate after
yes.
I. So then the S is strengthen mindset. And that basically is you have to do a little bit of work to figure out your North Star of what it feels like to be at your best. And my mentor, partner, and I got to work with him for a long time and still do, is Michael Gervais. And he calls this the ideal competitive mindset. Mm-hmm. And it's basically what it feels like to be at your best. And, you can get to the bottom of what this is by asking some questions like, some coaching questions just to uncover, okay, remember a time when you were at your best. What did it feel like? What were you thinking? What did you do beforehand?
Yes.
And you start to uncover like it's a feeling at the end of the day. You can use words to point towards the feeling. For me, it was like confident kicker. Like I believe in myself. I trust myself. And basically like there's a few aspects of it. I don't want to get into too much detail. There's a few aspects of it. At the core of it, like at the deepest levels of it, the foundation of it is self-love.
Yes.
Like full self-love for like, dude, I'm going to put myself out on the line out there. I'm going to go for this thing and I'm going to be okay either way. Mm-hmm. Like if you can really get to a place where you love yourself so much that you can live with whatever the result is, that's a really powerful place.
Yes.
And then coming up from that, the next deepest layers of it are self-trust and belief.
Yes.
So just like believing in self, trusting in self. And it's like, these are deep places in your soul, in your heart, in your bones of like believing, like, I can do this thing. I can do hard stuff. I can find a way, it's inspiring stuff. And then the kind of the top levels of it are more mental skills around confidence. These are trainable mental skills. Confidence, which is basically how you talk to yourself.
Yes.
So it's using positive self-talk, and there's mechanisms to it. There's focus, which is, basically putting blinders on, horse with blinders on. The only thing, a lot of it comes from your eyes. Like I said, so much of the brain is visual, but like focusing on one thing with your eyes is a great way to achieve that. And then calm was just an awareness of how activated you are. So, if you're super, maybe in practice, you're tired and you're lethargic and you're falling asleep. Mm-hmm. A lot of people practice in that state. How do you get yourself amped up into that ideal state? So there's kind of, if you were to do it on a scale of 1 to 10, 4 to 6 is ideal. And 1 to 3 is where 1 to 3 is where a lot of people practice. They just, and then they think they can turn it on in the game. And a lot of people play games 8, 9, 10. So
very true.
An awareness of where you are. Breathing helps take you from an 8 to a 7, from a 7 to a 6. So there's breathing protocols that help you get there. And all that leads to courage and ultimately like flow state. Yes. And then so the last step is E for embrace the opportunity. And that's a final like surrender. It's a full send moment where you've done all the stuff, you're feeling amazing, you're feeling charged up, like you've prepared yourself and you've gotten into your ultimate state. You didn't wait for some result to determine like, oh, now I can feel good and confident and courageous. It's the opposite. You said, oh, I've got this thing that I'm really excited about, but I'm also scared about, and I'm going to get super courageous and feel amazing before I even step out there, because I know that's going to give me the best chance to perform.
Yes.
But all that being said, E is about a final full send moment. It's a commitment, just understanding, okay, I'm going to go play the game. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to be courageous and I'm going to keep coming back to it. And there's no guarantee for the results, but I am embracing this. I love this. It's not like, I'm not afraid of I'm going to hug that opportunity in front of me. I'm going to give it a big hug because I want this thing and I'm going to go for it.
I love that. RISE. I think, when you look at getting to that state of, I won't call it joy, but just like to your point, embracing it, being like, let's go see what happens. And I'm prepared and I'm ready. Mm-hmm. And whatever happens is going to happen, but let's go.
Dude, let's go. And the thing is, there's, what was the study? Okay, there's a study out of, there's a study out of Cornell where people were asked to name the single biggest regret in their life. And something like 80% of people responded that it was something that they didn't do that was the biggest regret in their life.
Yes.
It wasn't their biggest failures. It was something that they didn't do. Why do we not do things? It's usually we're playing it safe. We're afraid.
Some fear. Yep.
So if you're trying to live the best life you can live, we need to consciously look at our fears to see what's holding us back, and consciously we need to take inventory and choose, okay, where are we going to step forward?
Yes.
And I'm still even more than ever, I have to live this process that I'm teaching to move forward in my life, because it's like, gosh, it's so easy to get held back by like a fear and some story that isn't even true or productive.
Oh yeah. I think that's something that is always with us, right? To your point, right? Our brain's built in a way to protect us first, right? To assess those fears. Beautiful thing, amazing thing. But even with, you go through these methodologies, I'm going to train myself on all these different things, they're still going to crop up. I think people sometimes think, oh, it'll go away magically one day. It's like, no, it won't, but you accelerate your like going through that though. You can get through it quicker and quicker to like take the action and be bold and be courageous and do those sorts of things. But it's like, to your point, every athlete feels it. I don't care what level you're at. It's just, what are you willing to do with it?
You know, there's kind of two games going on. There's a performance game, like results.
Yep.
You know, and I think a lot of people play the results and performance game. And then there's this inner game, which I started playing the second half of my career, which was all about finding the courage to go for it. Like how much courage can I find to step up in these moments? You know, one of the greatest kicks of my life, we were playing the...
If you say Broncos, I'm going to...
No, I was playing for the Bills. I was playing for the Bills. It was 2020, January 4, 2020. And I just, you know, on the sidelines, I was feeling... It had been a long year. I'd had a couple injuries that year. I was fighting the injuries. My calves were cramping up on the sidelines. And I like had panic attack because when your calves cramp up, you can't even strike the ball. Your foot basically gets locked into dorsiflexion. You can't plantar flex your foot. So the ball goes nowhere. It comes out like a duck, like going low and left and everything. And this happened in the fourth quarter. We were down by 3 with like 3 minutes left, and I was freaking out. And we were about to kick a long field goal from like 50 something yards. And I knew it was like guaranteed disaster if they sent me out there. We took a sack on third down and punted, but we got the ball back with like about 2 minutes left. And I had this moment of like, there was nowhere to go. I was freaking out inside. Like fear was at a 10 out of 10.
Yes.
You know? And I realized there was nowhere to go. I couldn't run out of the stadium. I couldn't like run from my fear. And like the moment was going to happen. I was sure of it. I was sure they were going to send me out there for a kick in like the next minute. And I was like, I knew this was happening and I was freaking out. And then all of a sudden, I was like, oh, it's love. Like love. It's not fear, it's love. And I was like, I want this moment. I want this moment. And then I started doing all the self-talk, all the courage stuff. And I got myself into this state, literally went from a 10 out of 10 in fear. And I got myself into this, like, I believe in myself. I trust myself, confident swing. And as I was jogging out there, it was like a 10 out of 10 on the courage scale.
Yes.
And that happened in like real life clock time. 90 seconds. Yes. Now, which one do you, so I'm out there and I drill the kick. There's 3 seconds left in the game. We're down by 3. I drill the kick right down the center to tie the game to go into overtime. The best kick of my life, not because I made it and it wasn't perfect by any means, but it was because like it was a full send moment. I fully committed to it. And it was how I shifted states in real time to get there.
Yes.
And it was one of the most, it was a spiritual moment, one of the most incredible moments in my life to do that in real time. And I think it's the battle we all fight. And like to have the tools to shift in real time like that, like how many times, like I've choked, believe me, I've choked. I know what that feels like too. This was about, that probably was about to be a choke. Yep. And I just like shifted and like that kick was going through and I knew it before I even got out there.
Well, that's the thing, right? Everything you're talking about, like we are more powerful than we think, right? And in a matter of seconds, we can shift ourselves, right? But starting from that place of like, I believe in myself, I love myself, I'm choosing to be confident, I'm going to embrace the moment and I'm going to be okay either way. with whatever happens. And I mean, shoot, you could kick a ball, it could be blocked right back to you, and you run around the outside and score a touchdown. I mean, who knows? I mean, it could be like, well, I'm going to do that from now on, because that's way easier to do that, right? And 7 points or 6 points instead of 3, but it's like, I'm going to be okay either way, to free you up to perform. I think sometimes to your point, we hold on so tight to perform instead of letting go. Which again, you look at the science, your muscles fire quicker, like all that sort of stuff, if you embrace that kind of challenge, that piece of it.
And it's not just all that stuff is true, but it's also feeling it deep inside.
Yes.
And that's what I'm talking about when I say it's a emotional battle between love and fear. Because fear really is sending you up into your brain.
Yes.
Into the thoughts, into the fright. But like the love and the belief and the courage, that's a deep feeling inside that I can do this thing.
Yes.
And that's what I want all athletes, all top performers to feel, to perform from that place. Like not just that they're safe, but like I love doing this. I believe in myself. It's like the best feeling in the world. That was way cooler than like towards the end of my career. It was way cooler to feel like that inside for me than it was, sometimes to make kicks.
Yes.
Different, sort of a different feeling, but that's what I was working towards.
Yes. Yes. It's something you can leverage for every area of life.
Yeah.
But this is so cool. And I want to be aware of time, man. I love this conversation. I love this conversation because, again, pressure, fear, like the topic is so critical to digest and go into, because again, it's all this stuff's going to come from anywhere, right? And everywhere. It feels like, and it's to your point, I love your perspective. It's like, it's real. We don't have to hide from it. It's real. Like your parents are putting pressure on you. You feel it.
Yeah.
Like there's a feeling. Now, what do you want to do with it?
And they're like, they can't help themselves.
Yeah.
But these kids, like these, especially the high school kids, like they can find this courage.
Yep.
They really can. And some of them do. But I really believe like this is what everybody needs.
Yes.
Every performer needs, because it's an internal game. Performance really starts from the inside.
Oh yeah. And again, you start getting into sales, running a business, getting a job.
Yeah.
As we evolve and grow and try new things, move to a different country, move back from that, like whatever it is, like you're going to experience these things, right? So you start mastering everything you're talking about, Stephen, like it's gold.
And it really comes down to a fundamental decision everybody has to make. Am I viewing this as a threat?
Yes.
Or as an opportunity? That's why it's embrace the opportunity. Am I viewing it as a threat or an opportunity? Am I avoiding failure or chasing success? And I'd say too many. The youth sports space is a mess, because what's happened is the professionalization of youth sports and the training and the specialization and the expectations have all just come down, and there's not enough support for the parents, for the coaches, for the kids to really like believe in themselves. They're tying their entire identity to success at a certain age.
Yep.
And it's not how it was. I started playing football at 19 years old. I was a soccer and lacrosse player. I was never recruited for anything. I didn't get recruited once. I had to walk on to the soccer and lacrosse team at Middlebury. I had,
wow.
I walked onto the football team. I walked onto the football team at Middlebury and at NC State. I had to earn all of it. And it all happened so late. So like, why would we judge a 12-year-old or a 14-year-old or a 16-year-old who knows what they're going to be at 18 or 20 or 22 or 24.
Yes.
And for 98% of the kids, 99% of them, they're not going to be college or pro athletes. So let's be intentional about helping them get the mental skills to thrive in life.
Yes.
And so I just feel like the parents and the coaches and the athletes need more intentional work in that space, and need to learn how to support the kids in all the right ways. Like they want they want the results of youth of like a professional athlete in middle school.
Yes.
But they're not even supporting them. Like they don't get the mental support like we did. Like I've been a pro athlete. We got a lot of support mentally. We got a lot of support nutritionally, physically. There's so much you need to do for your body if you're going to put it through that much.
Yes.
And you need great sleep. Like if I were to give one advice for the parents, I'd be like, focus on helping your children eat super healthy. Focus on getting your children to sleep really well. And then balance out their sports a little bit, find some, I get that youth sports are so involved. I have young kids right now and I'm starting to see it firsthand. But try to find some time to connect with them outside of sports.
Yeah. It's so very true. Yeah. We, again, underestimate how important it is to take care of our bodies, to fuel our minds, to fuel the energy, to fuel like everything you're talking about here. If we're going to get into to rise up and perform at the level that we want to. And then for the high school athletes on here, I think there's a few listening, but for them, find out what it feels like to be at your best. Like journal about your best games, your best performances. Ask yourself some questions. Like what does it feel like to be at my best? What did I do to prepare for that moment? What was I feeling inside? What was I saying to myself about the moment? Find that North Star. And then the work is get back there every time before you go play. Do it before it takes practice. And you should do this before practice. Yes. I
got so good at it. I could like switch it on and off. I could get to my ideal state in like 3 seconds. A few words and a feeling. A few words to point me in the right direction, and then it was a feeling inside. I'm like, I'm ready to go.
Yes.
Let's go. I got this. Use that self-talk.
Yes.
Talk positively to yourself.
You can't wait for somebody else to do it.
No.
That is for sure. It starts with each and every one of us loving ourselves. And you may be sitting there being like, oh, come on. It really does start there. It really does.
And you back up the self-talk too with things that like you need evidence. Like I've worked my tail off, gosh, look at, like point back to your process.
Yep.
It's not like I'm confident because I made the last kick. I'm confident because or some result. You're not waiting to be confident because some result happened. You can be confident because of all the hard work you've put in, because you've done hard things, because you love what you're doing. Those are effort and process.
Yes.
Point towards those two things. Back up your self-talk with that, because you earn it. I mean, everybody should find a place where they have the belief that they can go for it.
Mm. Let loose to your own ability and fly around. Do what you need. It's
all we can do. You can't be something better than you are. All we can do is, try to push the envelope of what's possible for each of us.
So very true.
For most of the athletes out there, the goal isn't to be the best athlete. The goal is to be your best. See where that takes you. I was obsessed with that. How good can I get? I wasn't comparing myself to the other guys. I really wasn't. I was obsessed with how good I could get. And at one point I reached second. I was like second best kicker in the NFL for a couple of years. Yep. We won't talk about what happened after that, but
that's right. For another episode.
You know,
but no.
It's a thrill. Like, it's one of the best feelings in life to pursue your best, to just get curious and play the game of how good can I get.
I got such great advice. And I've got 2 last questions for you.
Sure.
They'll both be very quick.
Sure.
First of all, I'm just genuinely curious. In the game of, I want to see if this is comparable. In the game of baseball, I was on this constant pursuit for, I don't want to call it the perfect swing, but it was almost like the perfect swing. And in the game of baseball, when you hit a ball like so perfectly, Stephen, it feels like nothing at all. It's like literally feels like you just slice through the ball with like a samurai sword or something. It's beautiful. I'm just curious, when you kick a ball and you hit it like the right way, does it feel like, what does it feel like? Is it like nothing, or is it like?
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. So there's several spots on your foot you can hit it. If you hit it right on the bone with your foot locked out perfectly, and there's like a little quarter-sized spot on the ball that you have to hit. If that all lines up, it feels like a marshmallow. You don't even notice it.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah.
So cool.
But I was obsessed, technique is great. And I'd work on technique and I'd have technical thoughts. But when it really came down to it, when my career was on the line, when the city was counting on me, my team, everything, I would say to myself, confident swing, because I would much rather have a confident swing with below average technique than a super technical swing without a lot of conviction behind it.
Yes.
Especially in pressure moments. So, focus on the swing, like obviously work on the technique and everything, but understand in the moment, your body's going to feel tight sometimes, especially in these pressure moments, and like, do the thing that you can do repeatably and feel confident doing. So I just want to like do a confident swing. I didn't really care what it looked like. Yes. Because I knew, and I just kind of have to trust my body that it would give me a halfway decent technical swing.
Yes. What if you worked on a technique, done your work outside of it? It's going to default to that.
Yeah. Yep.
So, and then get back to that feeling, that confident state.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's so good. Okay. That's good. Well, if I ever kick a ball that flush, which probably will never happen because I never kicked footballs, but I know what to expect. So.
Marshmallow.
So last thing, and then I'll end this for today, but people need to connect with you. They must connect with you. So where can they best find you right now?
Oh, yeah. So I am literally, my website should be live in about a month.
Awesome.
And that'll be stephenhauschka.com, PHEN. But for right now, it's at Stephen Hauschka 4. That's my Instagram handle. And then you can find me on LinkedIn, Stephen Hauschka as well, all with PH.
Perfect.
And
You're
then
the third.
Hauschka, Hauschka.
You're the third. And we'll put all the links in the show notes, so go check it out and connect. Instagram, LinkedIn. You're the third Stephen with a PH I've met in the last couple months. There's a trend happening, happening, I swear. This is awesome. But Stephen, I can't thank you enough for spending the time with me. I mean, obviously I'm enthralled getting into the RISE methodology and talking through this and talking pressure. And I just can't thank you enough for your time with me and with the audience today.
Appreciate it, Matt. Thanks so much, man. This has been a pleasure. It's fun to talk shop, and everybody, this is the realest thing there is, man. The mind is a powerful thing, and we got to learn to work with what we've got.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, with that said, thank you everyone for watching today, for listening. And as I say every single time, right, take one nugget, and maybe it's the R, the I, the S, the E, I don't know, maybe it's something else, right? But like, put it into action. Do something with it. Try it. Like, that's the only way you're going to start to see a difference, see the results, and find something that works for you in your sport, in school, in life, and wherever, kind of whatever stage you're at. So please put it to action. Share this episode with your family, friends, coworkers, teammates, all that sort of stuff, as you know. And we'll see you on the next Masters of the Game interview. Thanks, everybody.